In the lecture number 9, so from the chapter number 1, we are going to see the introduction to MEMS. So I am Madhuri Mui, working as assistant professor in Department of Electronics and Telecommunication, Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering. So in previous sessions, we have started the chapter number 1, that is introduction to the MEMS. So in that we have seen the history, then scaling laws for the MEMS, as well as we have seen the fabrication methods for the MEMS. So now we are continuing with that the fabrication methods. So from that wet etching we have seen, so from the bulk micromachining. So today we are going to continue that. So from the bulk micromachining, so in a previous session we have seen the wet etching. So now dry etching we are going to see. So dry etching realized on vapor phase or plasma based methods of etching using suitably reactive gases or vapors. So usually at high temperatures, okay. So the most common for MEMS is reactive ion etching, that is RII. So already we have discussed that. So reactive ion etching, so most of the common etching process is used in a MEMS, so which utilizes additional energy in the form of radio frequency, that is RF, so power to drive the chemical reaction. So dry etching is related to the vapor phase or the plasma based method, and in a wet etching we have seen at the that the means liquid is used for the etching. Means the chemical reaction is used. Then energetic ions are accelerated towards the material to be etched within a plasma phase, supplying the additional energy needed for the reaction. So as a result, the etching can occur at much lower temperature. So typically it is 150 degrees Celsius to 250 degrees Celsius. So sometimes room temperature. So then those usually needed means above that the 1000 degrees Celsius. So means in a dry etching vapor phase or the plasma based, that energetic ions are accelerated towards that the material, so which will be etched, or that the unwanted that the part is removed. So that the reactive ion etching is not limited by the crystal planes in the silicon, and as a result deep trenches and pits or arbitrary shapes with vertical walls can be etched. So depending upon the which type of that the etching is used, so that the how that the shapes comes for that the etching that determined. So in a dry etching, deep reactive ion etching, that is DRIE, is a much higher aspect ratio etching method that involves an alternating process of high density plasma etching, as in RIE, and protective polymer deposition to achieve greater aspect ratio. So if you see here, the silicon substrate is there and on over that mask is there. So when we deep reactive ion etching is used, so that the ions are means they are towards they are means suppose accelerate they towards this portion. So deposit polymer, so where here, and after that the re-etching process, that the area is etched from this side. So this is deep reactive ion etching. So each rates depends on the time as well as the which concentrations are used, then which temperature and material to be etched. So these are nothing but the physical quantities which decide the etching rate. So to date there are no universally accepted master equations to predict each performance and behavior. So that depending upon which type of the material is used, as well as the what are the outer temperature and concentration of ions which are applied for that material. Then next, we have seen the bulk micromachining. Then second is the surface micromachining. So surface micromachining involves the processing above the substrate, mainly using it as a foundation layer on which to build. So this is known as the surface micromachining. So in this process, foundation layer is used to make that to build another layer. So it was initiated in 1980s, and it is is the newest MEMS production technology. So surface micromachining is material is added to the substrate in the form of layers of thin film. So on the surface of the substrate, so that's why it is known as the surface micromachining. So these layers can either be structural layers or act as a spacers. So latter to be removed, then they are known as the sacrificial layers. Okay. So material is added to the substrate, that is known as the structural layers, and after that, if it is act as a spacer, then it is removed, that known as the sacrificial layer. So surface micromachining having again the two types, structural layer and sacrificial layers. Then the process usually involves film of two different materials, as now we have discussed. So one is the structural material, so out of which the freestanding structure is made. So generally polycrystalline silicon or polysilicon or silicon nitrate and aluminium. So these are the freestanding structure made up from this material. Then a sacrificial material, so that deposited wherever either an open area or a freestanding mechanical structure is required. So usually an oxide is used. Okay, so what is mean by sacrificial material? Deposited wherever either an open area is required or the freestanding mechanical structure is required, that is known as the sacrificial material. Then in surface micromachining, so these layers, or we can say thin films, are deposited and subsequently dry etched in a sequence. So with the sacrificial material being finally wet etched, a way to release the final structure. So each additional layer is accompanied by an increasing level of a complexity and a resulting difficulty in fabrication. Okay, so a typical surface micromachined cantilever beam is shown in figure. So here deposit and pattern oxide, then deposit and pattern polysilicon, then sacrificial etching, then see here silicon substrate is there, over that oxide is there, and 10 micrometering etching part is shown here. So under this again that the polysilicon material is formed, and here that the last structure of the cantilever is so these are the two same things, but that the sacrificial or that the structural. So these are terms structural and these are known as the sacrificial layers. So cantilever beam using the sacrificial layer. Then here a sacrificial layer of oxide is deposited on the silicon substrate surface using a pattern of photolithography. So already we have seen the photolithography, that is the making of pattern to that mask. So polysilicon layer is then deposited and patterned using that the RIE, okay, so reactive ion, so process to form a cantilever beam with an anchor pad. So the vapor is then wet etched to remove the oxide, that is sacrificial layer, releasing and leaving the beam on the substrate. So next is in a surface micromachining, that more complex main structure can be achieved using structural polysilicon and sacrificial silicon dioxide. So including sliding structures, actuators and free moving mechanical gears. So figure shows the process flow for the fabrication of a micromotor by the commercial available multi-user MEMS process. So multi-user MEMS process is also known as the MUMPS, that is MUMPS. So surface micromachined of MEMS micromotor using multi-user MEMS process. So here step by step we are going to see how that the MEMS motor is formed. So see here silicon substrate is there, over that the one poly layer is placed, again over that the oxide first layer is formed, then over that again the second poly is formed, then again oxide layer is formed, so over that again another poly layer is formed, then metal layer is formed, then electrode. So this is nothing but the final structure of the MEMS electrostatic rotary motor. So here multi-user MEMS process is adapted and applied over this. So it is nothing but the multi-user MEMS process. So if you carefully look this diagram, you will get an idea how the layer by layer, that means from the starting first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and the last step which is shown in this the figure. So this is nothing but the final product after the surface micro machining. In that also multi-user MEMS process is used. Okay, so clear the idea about that. Means over that the one layer we are placed a number of layers and unwanted part is also removed by etching, and then after the finally product is done. So the levels of complexity achievable with MEMS has already been shown in the figure. So in this case 5 mechanical levels of micro machined polysilicon can be achieved using Sandia Ultraplanar Multi-Level Technology, that is SUMMIT. Okay, Sandia Ultraplanar Multi-Level Technology. So the success of the surface micromachining process depends on the ability to successfully remove all the sacrificial layers to free the structural elements so that they can be actuated. So this step is responsible for curtailing the yield, so the percentage of device on a wafer that function properly, and reliability of fabricated MEMS due to the phenomena known as striction. So striction refers to the sticking of structural elements either to the substrate or the adjacent elements. So capillary forces from rising liquids as well as the electrostatic and van der Waals forces can be also produce permanent adhesion after the system has dried. Okay. So this friction refers to sticking of structural elements either to the substrate or the adjacent elements. So capillary forces from the rising liquids as well as the electrostatic and van der Waals forces can also produce permanent adhesion after the system has dried. MEMS transducer. So next point means after the fabrication. So in a fabrication method, bulk micromachining and surface micromachining we have seen. Then next point from our chapter first, that is MEMS transducers. So let us see what is mean by the MEMS transducers, because we know that the transducer is nothing but the device that convert one form of energy into the another form of the energy. So for the MEMS, how the transducers are functioning, that we are going to see. So micro sensors and micro actuators are at the very core of the MEMS device or system. So micro sensor detects the change in system's environment. Okay, so sensor will be sensed, and intelligent part process the information detected by the sensor and makes a decision in the form of a signal, and a micro actuator acts on this signal to create some form of changes in the environment. Okay, so micro sensors and micro actuators are the most important in the MEMS transducer. So microsensors sense the whatever outer condition, environmental changes, and intelligent part process on that the information detected by the sensor and make a decision in the form of the signal, and the micro actuator acts on this signal to create some form of changes in the environment. So that is combining the microsensors and micro actuators. So sensors and actuators are broadly termed transducers. Okay, so terms sensors and actuators are broadly termed transducers and are essentially devices that converts one form of energy into the another. So basic MEMS mechanism and structure consist of both in plane and out of plane mechanisms. So as well as structural members to couple energy between the actuator and sensor as well as with the physical interface of a mechanical system. So mechanisms such as joint, linkage, gears and hinges are very typical. Okay. So means in this MEMS transducer, next part is the mechanical transducer. So there is a tremendous variety of direct mechanical sensors. So that have been all could be micro machined depending on their sensing mechanism. So usually piezoresistive, piezoelectric or capacitive, and the parameters sensed typically strain, force and displacement. So these are the physical quantities of the mechanical transducer. So let us see the one by one piezoresistive sensor. Okay. So as a result of the piezoresistive effect, so defined as change in resistivity of the material with applied strain is nothing but the piezoresistive or that the functioning of that the sensor. So change in gauge dimension result in a proportional changes in resistance in the sensor. Okay, so the piezoresistive effect in semiconductors is considerably higher than in traditional metals, so making silicon an excellent strain sensor. So silicon, from the silicon material, the property is used that is that the higher that the piezoelectric effect, that is strain sensor work, it will work as a strain sensor. So MEMS piezoresistors are readily manufactured using the bulk silicon doped with P-type or N-type impurities. Then next is the piezoelectric sensor. So piezoresistive, that is resistance of the material change with the applied strain. So let us see the piezoelectric sensor. So piezoelectric sensors utilize the piezoelectric effect in which an applied strain or force on a piezoelectric crystal result in a potential difference across the crystal. So you got that the difference. Piezoresistive means according to material resistance, resistance changes with applied strain, and here that the applied strain will be effect on the piezoelectric crystal, and due to that the potential difference across the crystal. So similarly, if the crystal is subjected to a potential difference, a displacement or strain is produced. So the effect can be used to sense mechanical stress, that is displacement, and as an actuation mechanism, although displacements are small even for large voltages. Okay. So common piezoelectric material used for MEMS applications include quartz, lead, zirconate, titanate, polyvinyl, fluoride, and ZnO, PVDF, and ZnCO being the most common. So silicon is not piezoelectric. Hence, a thin film of a suitable material must be deposited on the devices. Then next is the capacitive sensors. So capacitive sensing is one of the most important and widely used precision sensing mechanisms and includes one or more fixed conducting plates with one or more moving conducting plates. So capacitive sensing realizes on the basic parallel plate capacitor. So equation shown below that as capacitance is inversely proportional to the distance between the plates, sensing of very small distances is extremely accurate. So here C is equal to E naught epsilon naught EV A into D. Epsilon naught is permittivity of the free space. Epsilon D is the relative permittivity of the material between the plates, and A is the overlapping plate area that is measured in M, and D is the plate separation. So this is the capacitive sensor. So resonance sensor we are going to see in the next lecture. So thank you. So in this session we have seen that the dry etching, from that the bulk micro machining, then for the surface micro machining, that is structural and sacrificial layers, and after that the MEMS transducers, and in the MEMS transducers are mechanical sensors we have studied. Thank you.